Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa says the G20 Inequality Committee report provides a very clear guideline on how the G20 countries should address inequalities. So this report about global inequalities was officially handed over to Ramaphosa yesterday by a panel of experts he established to probe the main causes of inequalities globally. The report's findings reveal that wealth inequality is far higher than income inequality globally. Between 2000 and 2024, the richest 1%, listen to this, the richest 1% captured 41% of all new wealth, while the bottom half of humanity received just 1%. To further unpack the report, we are joined in studio by the G20 Expert Task Force member, Professor Imran Velodia. He's from the director of the Southern Center for Inequality Studies, the Pro-Vice Chancellor at the University of the Witwatersrand. It is a pleasure to have you, and thank you so very, very much for being with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Frightening results contained in this. Perhaps nothing that we didn't know, however, it's now on paper and we know the facts are out there. I want to, before we even get into the findings, just talk a little bit about the commissioning of this by the President.
Yeah, so one of the themes for the G20 is inequality. And our President, as the President of the G20 for this year, appointed the committee to prepare the report for him. We've done our task now, and we handed the report to the President yesterday. The brief was to look at inequality across the globe, and to make really assess the evidence, to look at what are the things driving inequality, to propose solutions, and all of that's in in the report. The report's in the public domain. It's it's there for everyone to read.
Yeah, and sobering reading, I must say. I mean, inequality is central to global growth, and I think we all know this. And development and stability. Countries are no longer worried about limiting poverty, but also about the growing gap within societies, as well as between countries, because that is what we're noticing as well. Talk to us a little bit about this. I mean, how is that situation looking?
Yeah, we look in the report at what are the things that are driving this this rise in inequality, and I think the statistics, statistic that you mentioned really captures how bad the problem is. I think we make the recommendation in the report that there's two broad elements to how we should think about the trends driving this. The first is a set of issues at the international level, and here there's issues like intellectual property. There's issues such as the international trading system, etc., which is driving inequality among countries of the world. The second is a pattern at the national level, and here there's issues such as elites really being able to capture a large part of the income and the wealth at the national level. And I think in our report we suggest that governments do have a choice in this, that the international community does have a choice about it, and we make some suggestions for how we should deal with this.
Which I want to get to shortly, but I want to get the distinction here between income and wealth inequality, because there is a distinction. How do these two interact, and why is wealth inequality so much harder to actually tackle?
Okay, so we should think about income as a flow that comes from the work that you do or the investments you make, etc. Whereas a much more complete view of inequalities, inequality in wealth, it really tells us how much assets you have, how much investments you have, etc. part of the issue that we raise in this report is that although income inequality is extremely high, inequality in wealth is much more serious, and we should be a lot more concerned about it.
And we should be, because what I'm reading into this is it seems that the concentration of wealth suggests that economic growth as we pursued it is actually structurally unequal by design. Is that a fact that we can say? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a factor about the rules of the game and how we decide who gets what out of the output that we get.
Yeah.
So there's if we take, for example, the tech sector, where we've seen large growth, but also huge concentrations of wealth. I think the way we allow technology to develop, the way we allow certain certain people to gain all of the wealth that comes from that, the way we exclude others from from realizing that, are all important issues driving this pattern of inequality.
It's interesting to see that, South Africa chaired this process, and of course, the manifestation of the global South and developed G20 economies obviously works quite differently. But I want to dig a little bit deeper into this, into some of the patterns of perhaps the contributors. I mean, there's a lot of it rooted in whether we talk colonial or post-colonial economic systems. Did you go into the historical debt, those kind of things, reparations or global trade inequities? I mean, are these the kind of issues that were also looked at?
Yeah, I think we can break these up into three parcels of things that we think drives the pattern of inequality. The first really is history. So countries in the north have much higher incomes, they have much higher wealth because of the history of colonialism that really goes back a long way. Then there's a second bucket of things which are medium-term economic issues, and here we can think about things like privatization, things like the fact that in general taxes across the world have become a lot less progressive than they used to be, and then we can think about a few more short-term issues, and here we would think about issues such as the debt crisis. So many countries in the global south now have an extreme problem with debt, and having to pay off that debt means that they can't spend on education, health, etc., which are all factors that really impact on the poor, and is one of the reasons why in the short term we're seeing this increase in inequality.
And that is a very important aspect that I think we need to always take into consideration. Another very interesting thing that I saw coming out of this was Labour's declining share of income, because this is a big problem too. When we witness a permanent shift away from labour to capital, and I think where we bring in here is automation, financialization, tax havens, as you mentioned, accelerating inequality, also the pandemic exposing the vulnerable countries here and the vulnerability of global systems. But this issue of labour in terms of a share of income, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think we should really think about issues of inequality in terms of power. Those who have a lot more power are able to capture a lot more of the income and the wealth, and those with less power, their share starts to drop. And I think what we've seen since the 80s globally is the shift in the factory floor in businesses, a shift in power towards those who own the firms and away from those who who do the real work. So I think this kind of issue of the balance between the owners of capital and the workers is a serious problem across the world. Of course, also driven by kind of issues such as technology, AI, etc. But the point we make in the report is that we have a choice about these decisions. These are not issues that happen inevitably. There's choices that we can make about it.
So let's make a choice as we wrap this up, because there is so much more. I mean, it's a very comprehensive report, and I do urge the viewers to go in there and take a look and see, what is highlighted there. But South Africa, one of the most unequal societies in the world. We know this, that nothing new there, absolutely nothing new. Our president called for this. We now have the facts there. So what are we going to do about it?
So the key suggestion that we make in our report is that we should have an international panel on inequality. And the reason for this is that we don't think this is going to change immediately. And policy makers need evidence, they need suggestions, and our thought for how to deal with this emergency is to think about it similar to the climate emergency, where we have an international panel that's independent, that provides us with the evidence, and we suggest that there should be an international panel on inequality. We made this suggestion to the president yesterday, and he was quite excited about it.
Well, let's hope something comes of this, and it's not just rhetoric. We see the action being put in there. Thank you for coming in. Thanks so much for talking to us. Have a look at it. The report is out there. This, of course, was the G20 Experts Task Force member, Professor Imran Valodia. He's the director of the Southern Center for Inequality Studies and Pro-Vice Chancellor at the University of the Witwatersrand. It's the G20 Inequality Report.